Welcome to Her Vision, Her Voice, a show where we celebrate the bold and powerful voices of women who are redefining the music and film industries. I'm your host, Aline Kazarian, and in each episode we'll dive into conversations with trailblazers who have turned obstacles into opportunities, using their vision to amplify their voices and inspire change. Today I will be joined by artist and songwriter KALLITECHNIS in the second hour of the show. Known for her warm, soulful vocals and deeply introspective approach to music, KALLITECHNIS is a Montreal-born, LA-based artist and songwriter. Her sound is as colorful as it is intentional, blending pop and R&B with a strong sense of identity and self-discovery. With a background as a classically trained ballerina, her artistry is rooted in movement, emotion, and storytelling. Over the years, she's built a reputation not only for her own work, but as a sought-after collaborator, working with artists like Pusha T, KAYTRANADA, and a range of forward-thinking producers across genres. Whether she's writing for herself or others, her music feels like a conversation, honest, reflective, and grounded in purpose. If you are just tuning in, this is Her Vision, Her Voice. I'm your host, Aline Kazarian. I am now joined by KALLITECHNIS in the studio. Callie, how have you been? How's it going?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to be here.
Likewise, I'm happy to have you here. I want you to take us back to the very beginning, growing up in Montreal, being based there for such a significant portion of your life, growing up as a dancer, being surrounded by music. What were some of those formative moments for you that really made you realize being an artist is what I want to do? It's not just this hobby. It's not just this thing that I want to do on the side.
Oh, wow. I guess for context, grew up on musicals, and I grew up with a mom who loved to sing and encouraged me to sing karaoke with her, and I always sang in talent shows and was in classical ballet for so long. I think as a kid I just didn't see a career possible for myself. It was always kind of a lofty dream or something that other people can do, but I couldn't. Kids on TV, American kids in particular, we I think in Canada and Montreal we have so much access to American media, and it just always felt oh, that's something other people can do, but my little Greek Canadian self in Montreal is not going to follow that path. It's just kind of a passion or an extracurricular activity. But it was just always something in me, a natural form of expression. And then fast forward a lot to basically being in university and having this push and pull in me, and realizing that okay, I'm studying psychology right now and I'm about to finish this bachelor's degree. What's next? Because I see my peers and they're all excited about going to professors' office hours and they're gonna pursue a master's degree then a PhD. My heart's not in it. I'm distracted by YouTube and singers posting song covers, and Instagram's a new thing, and I'm posting my own song covers, and I'm just so called to express myself through music that I felt this tear in me. I'm just I can't, I think I'm going to regret not giving this a chance. And the real catalyst was having my manager at the time and currently find my music online and approach me and basically plant the seed in my head that I can develop my artistry and not just sing covers, but write my own songs. And to have someone from the outside kind of see something in me that was dormant but was there just gave me that little push and validation I needed to be hey, maybe I'm not delusional. Maybe I could also be that kid that I see on TV and on CD covers, and maybe I can also have a place in music despite not being from the same cultural background as other people, or despite feeling this weird hybrid person. Maybe I have something to say as well that can add to this landscape. And the rest is truly history. From that point in 2014, I started to develop my voice. I finished my degree and got into the studio and started to develop what is now KALLITECHNIS.
When you ultimately realized that you wanted to work in music and you had that bit of a push from your manager, what were some of the steps that you had to take, outside of going to the studio consistently and honing in your voice and figuring those things out? Some of the other things, like the more business side of things, let's say, because I feel like that's not really something that people talk about or that you see, the day-to-day, the things that you have to do on a daily basis in order to actually get to a point where you are successful. What did that look like for you?
Oh, right. It's very much, I don't even think I can properly articulate it because it's such a brick by brick thing. I think the average person who perceives a musician just looks at the final product and a couple of behind the scenes glamorized photos and thinks like, okay, cool, from point A to B, there's like a glow up and that's it, and we have the final product and it's cool. But the real work is done through like registering your songs with a PRO and learning about sync and performance rights and learning that streaming doesn't pay very well. So then how are you going to supplement that if this is going to be a sustainable career for you? And just learning about the business that is often learned through experience. Like there are many books out there, but there's no one book I would recommend or anything I would recommend to an artist other than to just learn as much as possible through experience and to realize that a journey in music is just that. It's a journey, and it's learning every single day through trial and error, hopefully through peers and people that you could surround yourself with that maybe have more experience than you, that you can ask questions. But it is a very blossoming, humbling experience, and it's an experience. It's not a destination. I'm still very much in that experience and learning, and not only bettering my craft but bettering my business with even 10 years into my journey.
Did you have mentors early on, or were those people coming into your life as you were continuing to make music and as you were continuing to hone your craft? What does that side of your artistry look like for you?
Mm-hmm. I think when it comes to the business aspect, I was very blessed to have my manager, Jared, by my side all throughout, which is very much a privilege and not something that many artists have, because logically and realistically for a manager and for the artist, it doesn't always make sense for an artist to start their journey with a manager by their side, because a manager is very much in the trenches with you. And if you are just starting off and you're not generating income, if someone else is like right there in the trenches with you and putting all this time and energy into this project that you're building together, you don't have the funds to pay them. So many artists have to get to a point where they can then outsource certain things and like hire a team and have a lawyer and a publicist and a booking agent and a manager. But I was just lucky that I had someone who is not only my manager but became my best friend and also my romantic partner. So our lives were so intertwined that like we have been in this as like a joint venture, like a collaborative project from the beginning. So where I'm getting at is I had the luxury of having somebody spend more time on that business mindset, and while still informing me, and like while we still had those business conversations, I was given the chance to have my artistry and my creativity be the focus. So I don't have to wake up every day and think about registering songs or pitching my music to DSPs. I have the manager to do that. So then that allowed me the time to get in the studio, refine my songwriting, do the more fun collaborative stuff, while also still being an entrepreneur and still running this business alongside Jarrett, my partner. So now I've forgotten the
you answered the question.
Okay. But it's just, I think I have a lot to say on the behind the scenes of my career, just because it's a very particular dynamic, since my manager is my romantic partner as well, and that we've also been in that very special dynamic for like over 10 years. Would
you have it any other way? And by that I mean, would you have, now that you're 10 years in, maybe a little over 10 years into making music, Do you feel like if you could go back and start all over again without having a manager and having to wake up and do all of the things that you just described, registering music, all these different things that aren't fun, but it's certainly part of the process and part of having a successful career where longevity is really, in the picture. Would you do that? Would you try it if you could?
I would try it. I would try it, but I would be such a different version of me. I just know that I've had like such a privilege in having support from the very beginning, that I know that reality where I wouldn't have that support would look very different. Now, I don't want to like think negatively, but it would definitely come with challenges, for sure. Like a privilege is a privilege for that reason. Like it allows me time to invest into something else. And in this case, it was just developing my artistry.
I feel like you have thick skin though, even having just met you. I feel like you're someone who's, you're tough. Like, you know how to get through things and overcome things in a way that maybe other people don't, even though you've had that level of help from the get-go in your career. Because, in a way, sometimes you think, well, maybe if I didn't have that help, maybe if I didn't have that manager or those resources, maybe I would have been tougher in a different way. But I feel like you still have been able to develop that level of, toughness.
Yes. And I think that it's funny because I think this is the second time in a week that I'm being referred to as like tough or resilient, which
really?
I really, I guess, would call myself that, but I do feel it now. And I think I can attribute it to just the independent artist journey. As much as I'm saying that I've had help, it's very much an uphill battle. It's very much you're only going to do this if you really love what you're doing, because it's a challenge and it's a rewarding and fulfilling challenge. But I'm constantly in entrepreneurial mode, which can sometimes be exhausting. It's tough to not have that turn into like a scarcity or survival mode, which is just more stressful and negative than it is like fruitful. So it's just like constantly navigating, like needing to pay bills and fund creative projects, and how are we going to pay for that musical, and applying for the grant, and like having to make all the decisions can be challenging as much as it can be empowering. So I think resilience comes from that, is having to be the boss and having to make tough calls and sacrifices. But resilience also comes from navigating the music industry. I think so much of any creative realm comes with a confrontation of your self-worth. And I think that when you're an artist of any kind, you quickly have to learn that your output and what you're making, the reception of it can't impact your self-esteem and how you value yourself and how you love yourself. So I think resilient, not just through my experience, but from my focus on my spiritual self and my mental health. And that is, I think, what's made me strong, is constantly like confronting myself and my ego and realizing like, okay, no, like this doesn't have to be a personal thing. Like a no doesn't have to be personal. A certain level of traction on your music, even if it's like incredible and like you're really excited about it and like people are like buzzing around your music, that doesn't mean that you're incredible. That just means that there's traction. Like it's just removing the ego from that, to then be able to like be here in this industry long term, because the ego is very fickle and so are people. So if we just create by constantly looking outwards, we are going to lose ourselves. So if I'm resilient, it's resilient to not succumbing to my own ego, which is why my whole like my compass in life has been for a while soul over ego. That's why like you'll see it in my bios and on my merch, because it's just been such a guiding force in navigating this industry.
Not to go from like talking about something that's very soul enriching to something that could potentially be soul sucking, but I feel like you're quite active on social media, but in a very particular way. You don't just post nonsense on there. I feel like everything you post is very intentional. And so when you referred to being entrepreneurial earlier, I wonder what that looks like for you on a day-to-day basis. And I wonder how intertwined social media is in that, puzzle for you.
That's a great question. I think I approach social media right now, and it hasn't always been the case. I think right now it's taken the form of world building, which I think a lot of people have probably been discussing. But to me, it's the best way to describe the multisensory aspect of music. Music isn't just like a song that you download or a CD that you buy or a vinyl that you buy. It's a feeling. It's how it's going to make you feel. It's an association. It's a memory. It's a visual. It's truly multisensory. So right now I'm approaching my social media as the visual extension to my music, and not just visual, but like multidimensional, really, because I care about the messaging just as much as what it's going to look like. So I'm just making sure that whatever I'm putting out there is going to be in alignment with the music and vice versa.
Let's talk about some of the artists that you've worked with, because you obviously also work as a songwriter. Mm-hmm. You've worked with people like Pusha T and KAYTRANADA, and I wonder what you specifically look for in a collaborator and how you make sure that, your own identity isn't lost in that collaborative process.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely something I had to learn through experience, which I would recommend. Like, I don't know of many artists who like begin their journey and are just like always so certain of themselves. And I think what I've learned when it comes to collaborations is to seek collaborators that offer something that you don't. I think I sometimes hate to use the word strategic because it sounds like maybe a bit like manipulative or like self-serving, but strategically, let's say, it's always fun to work with somebody who has like a different flavor than you, has a different audience than you, comes from another city. I was just blessed to have so many collaborators that I've connected with online. So like shout out to the internet and Instagram and like SoundCloud for that. That really impacted my career, to be able to collaborate with people even at long distance. And that's how the Pusha T song came about. Internet James and I met, and we, sent each other like verses back and forth. And, he's a rapper and I'm an R&B singer, and we come from like complementary worlds, but like still we have different like sauces of as artists, and we collaborated. And then Pusha T ended up being on that song that I had done a hook for. So very cool. Haven't met Pusha T, but we have a song together, like that's just the beauty of collaboration. And even now, I think I just want to make sure that we are adding value to each other's projects. So the same way I would want someone to be teaching me something in the collaboration, like I hope to bring what is special about me to what we're working on.
Do you think when you talk about thinking strategically, that for you that means, each experience, each collaborative moment is like a learning experience? Does it look like that for you?
100%.
Yeah.
It's a learning experience, and it's just an opportunity to figure out if something is in alignment for you. And like, I don't always get it right. In fact, I get it right more often now because I've gotten it wrong in the past. Like, you have to learn what doesn't, at least in my experience, you have to learn what doesn't work for you in order to figure out what does. So that's why I'm just, in general, so excited about my music journey moving forward, is because I truly feel like I'm the most me yet, and I will continue to be the most me yet, because hopefully, like with every moment of existence, I'm getting all this like information and like tweaking my recipe as a human. I'm just like, okay, adjusting constantly. So I feel like my next music is my best music yet, just because it has more information that's been incorporated into it that makes it feel more personal and more in alignment and like soul driven.
That actually brings up something for me that I've always found very interesting about artists in general, not just musicians, but visual artists and filmmakers and all different types of artists, which is, you have these different moments in your life that inform the kind of art that you make. And that's ever changing. I don't think there's ever been a moment in an artist's life where something has been the same or static. Mm-hmm. In fact, when it becomes static, it just becomes boring, mm-hmm. right? And I wonder for you what some of those themes maybe were early on that you were tapping into to write the music that you were writing, and maybe how those themes have changed and what you're interested in now.
I think when I first started writing music, I think one thing that has stayed the same is that I'm very introspective, and I don't think that's gonna go away. So I think the subject matter, like the themes that I explore in songs, are often just mirroring like what's going on in my life and what I'm learning about myself. So I think that when I was just starting out to write songs, I did have more of like romantic love themes in my music, maybe because my relationship was newer, and I also felt like maybe it's my own misconception, but I just thought that sometimes in R&B it's almost this like maybe self-imposed pressure or idea to write love-oriented music. And I thought that sometimes if I were to write something other than that, it might come across as like too conscious or corny. So I've always tried to find the balance between like, how do I write about like what I'm experiencing like spiritually in this song that doesn't come across as like preachy or I don't know.
It's a fine line.
It's a fine line, right? So that's part of the beauty of songwriting and like getting better as a songwriter is being able to like articulate what is true to you while also making it relatable to whoever's listening. That is the balance I'm always trying to have. So I think earlier on it was a bit more about writing what other people expected of me and less about what was it's not like I've never been disingenuous or like not myself, but I just think I've gotten better at balancing that and honoring my own voice and not just what people expect of me.
Do you feel like there are certain genres in music that maybe offer you a little bit more freedom just naturally because of, what that genre maybe emphasizes in general, kind of like what you were saying about R&B? Mm-hmm. Have there been instances where you've just felt so free and everything has just come really easily, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Actually, very recently, and it's funny that you bring this up because I'm on the precipice of releasing a jazz house project.
Fabulous.
And thank you. And I'm very excited about it. And the creation of it was so liberating just because I felt like a little kid again, learning how to write for the first time because the space, the music space that I was writing on was so different, and I couldn't use the same conventions that I've learned in like pop writing and like R&B songwriting. But I didn't want to or feel like I was called to apply that to these jazz house songs. And jazz in itself, to me, is like freedom and controlled chaos and like unpredictability sometimes. And house, to me, is like a landscape, and it's like spaciousness, and it is very human. So I felt like I was very uninhibited in writing, and it was truly like a blank slate. I was almost not even approaching this project as like KALLITECHNIS. It's just like, okay, cool. Yeah, that's an identity that I've created for myself, but like I'm approaching this as like a newbie, just kind of doing things intuitively. Like no one's taught me how to write a jazz house song, a house song. So I'm very excited about that, and it felt very freeing. I felt like I was playing when I was writing it. I explored a lot with not necessarily like singing everything that I wanted to say, but talking. And I even, you're going to be hearing it on the project. It's one song is completely in Greek. So that's like really cool for me to have a song completely sung and performed in Greek. But yeah, that's been it. That's been the freeing moment for me, this Jazz House project.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw something, it was a number of days ago, you posted on Instagram stories about this permission to call yourself a producer. Mm-hmm. Were you working on anything, were you producing anything on this specific project that you're talking about? Or is this something that you are now finding yourself immersed in and sort of adding this other tool to your tool belt?
Mm-hmm. I have a very interesting relationship with production, and I think a lot of women in the industry do, because it's such a male dominated skill or like role. And I've always co-produced music, so I tend to, I would say like 95% of the songs I've ever written, I've been present in the studio when they're being created. So like they're being built from scratch, and I'm there every step of the way saying like, yeah, yes to this sound, no to that sound, can we do this? So I've always co-produced. I haven't always been the person that's like tapping on the laptop or like the keys, but I'm always co-producing. So I already should have been calling myself a producer, but for some reason I have told myself that like, unless I'm self-producing or like I'm not dependent on filtering my voice through the producer who has his hands at the keyboard and like the computer, that maybe I'm not worthy of being called a producer. And the post that you're referring to was a song that like I fully produced on Ableton, which I've done a bunch before, but I was just sharing it and I'm like, you know what? I am a producer. Like I'm going to start like claiming this. And again, it's more for me, like labels don't matter, but it's just more so to embrace that like I'm already this person. I just need to affirm it. And I think it's important for other women in the industry to see that like, hello, like this is a gap that needs to be bridged. And it's so empowering. And how nice would it be to not have to like filter your ideas through someone else and be like, oh, actually I want it to sound like this and like softer here, and like, and to not have to like expend that energy and do it yourself. Wow, amazing. Like,
well, I think what you're tapping into as well is just that mental shift.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're saying this is more for me. It has nothing to do with other people or other, like, I don't care about that, but it's just more for me. And that mental shift, I think, is what is so powerful, because when you really think about it, everything is just a fucking invention. Like you think about jobs, for instance. Human beings were never meant to work in the way that we work now in a, you know, capitalist society. Mm-hmm. That was all just a fucking invention. Mm-hmm. Clothing, all an invention. How we see each other is almost an invention in itself. How you were saying producers, mostly men. Mm-hmm. Still to this day in 2026, it is mostly men. Mm-hmm. So I think that mental shift is really what changes everything for you personally. Mm-hmm. And then it also just adds to your creativity. It adds to your own authority in whatever room you're in.
Oh, yeah. And it's so nice. It's so, I feel like I've been kinder to myself just by acknowledging this and realizing that it was very much just a self-limiting belief. And it's really beautiful. I just feel like now I have more words to articulate. And the words were already there. I just didn't utter them. Yeah.
This is actually a good segue into talking about artist independence and what that has looked like in the past, but what it looks like especially now. Because I feel like there's been this shift, you know, towards independence and artist ownership. Mm-hmm. What does that look like for you? What are your thoughts on the state of where the industry is at? That's a very, I know, big question. It's very vague, but
nervous
just
laugh.
but how, I guess in terms of even, you know, thinking about longevity, what does artist ownership look like for you? And what does independence look like for you?
Okay, well, I've been an independent artist my entire career, so I don't think there's like a new shift for me mentally. I think the industry is just in such a different place now than it was when I began. So I think certain realities that were always there have just been unveiled, and I'm just like, oh, so this is what I'm dealing with. Oh, okay. What does that mean for me right now as an independent artist? You know what? to bring it back to the production, I think it just means that I have to be, oh God, this sounds terrible. I was just about to say I have to be able to do more, but that's dreadful. That's not, I don't want to encourage like over productivity or like overworking yourself or like hustle culture. But I'll give you, you know what? I'll give you an example of something that I'm dealing with myself as an independent artist. I work with very talented producers who live in a city like LA and obviously need money to sustain themselves. So they have producer fees. It's like quite standard for like some producers to have fees. So I have songs that I would like to release that in order for me to release them have fees of like $4,000 per song. I'm an independent artist. I'm blessed to be Canadian and have access to a grant system, but those grants aren't guaranteed. So I currently don't have, let's say, like 100K waiting for me to use on my upcoming music. So now I'm faced with this reality of like, okay, I need to pay rent. I need to like, live my life in LA. But then if I want to release the song that's going to continue to propel my career and like attract more opportunities and this and that, that's $4,000. Or since that is not a financial possibility for me right now, what does it look like if I self-produce and release music until the opportunity to pay for that does like appear? So it's not that I want to encourage people to do more, but if I'm being completely honest, artists in 2026 are not, I think it's very obvious that the system is not set up to support us. It's set up to jump on our bandwagon when things are already working. So, exploitation. Yeah, thank you. It's very exploitative, and I'm lucky that I'm delusional and I love what I do, so I'm continuing to do it. But anybody looking at my career from the outside would probably look at me and rightfully call me insane. Like, are you like dumb? Like what? Like, why are you still doing this? And to be honest, it doesn't make sense for me to be an independent artist. And I know a lot of other independent artist friends who are vocalizing this online, and like we very much share the same experience. So, okay, cool. We're on the same page that this is the experience, but what are we going to do about it? So other than just talking about how, yes, very much this is an exploitative industry and system, because I still love what I do, I'm just going to try to alchemize this into something positive. So to me right now, what I'm narrowing in and like trying to be positive about, that is also empowering and adding value to what I do, me as an artist, and also my business, is being able to self-produce. Because if I improve my production skills, I can produce for other artists. It's expansive. So I'm focusing on what is expansive and fruitful and generative. I'm trying to find like other words to basically say that I'm focusing on what I can control and navigating the rest with caution, but not self-sacrificing. So I'll give you an example of where I'm just like, no, this is exploitative. This doesn't make sense. This is outdated. I'm not doing it anymore. I'm no longer going to be touring conventionally. Like the path that artists have taken in the past is like, you release a body of work, you tour it, you either have a booking agent or you don't, you work with promoters and venues, etc., etc. They then ask you to sell a minimum number of tickets at this venue. If you don't sell the pre-sale tickets, your show is likely to be canceled. You have to fund the entire tour, especially as an independent artist. This is like thousands of dollars. Who's touring with you? The costs add up. But the problem in this network that I'm describing is that no one is serving the artist. The promoter, in quotes, I'm very much putting that quotation there. The promoter in 2026 is asking artists for digital assets and then running ads on Instagram and Facebook. And the artist and their team is solely responsible for getting people to commit to buying tickets, which a lot of people don't do in advance. You'll probably sometimes sell a show out with day of tickets, like sold the day of. So we're being unreasonably asked to sell pre-sale and being told by promoters that this is the expectation while they are not fulfilling their jobs. They're no longer in the streets putting up posters, doing the groundwork. They're just plugging away at their computer, which is something I could have done anyway. So the system is flawed, and I think it's up to artists now to realize not to participate in it. I don't think I encourage artists to take on dismantling it on their own. I think we need to take care of ourselves, and I don't think people should sacrifice themselves to take down a multi-billion-dollar industry. I think we should just empower the people that we can and empower ourselves and keep it moving, and then ask yourself a real question. Does this make sense for you? If it doesn't make sense for you, maybe it doesn't have to be your career path. So for now, I am very much delusional and still loving what I do, but I'm moving with caution, and I'm working smart and not hard according to an outdated system that was never there to serve me.
Where do I even go with that? Well, there's so many different avenues you can go down, but just I want us to go back to a small detail that you mentioned when you were talking about that producer fee.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but did you say that some producers charge a producer fee?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and this is not a judgment. It's just like a different point of view, and everyone has like a different responsibility. So like the perspectives for me are the following. I have released songs with producers where we like split the ownership of the song 50-50. And that has allowed me to release so much music because I don't have money in the bank just for the production of the music before it's even out there and generating money from streaming and sync placements, etc. So sometimes I maybe it's like an emotional point of view, but I feel like it's a bit unfair when an independent artist has to pay that fee up front because it's often very unlikely that the artist has that budget to just like put into the production if they're not being supported in any other way. But often the producers do not promote the song the same way an artist does once it comes out. So up until now, I've been blessed to be able to like share the ownership of the song with the producers, where I still continue to breathe life into the song after it's been released. And most often, as producers do, they continue to produce and they don't like place their identity behind the song and like breathe life into it. It's just like, oh, something that's out that they add to their list of production credits. And I'm not throwing shade. Like that's just a way of being, and like that's fine. Like artists are usually the face of the music, and I get that. So it's just a bit of a challenge when now I have collaborators that I very much respect. I love these producers that operate in a way where they have producer fees. It's just more so like, hey guys, like the reality is like they're asking me, oh, when are these songs going to come out? Oh, I just don't have the funds right now to put into that, and it's a little bit frustrating. And I also understand that they need to eat. So maybe the question isn't so much what's going on between the producer and the artist, but like what's going on in the broader picture when you zoom out. Like, why do we feel like us at the bottom of the totem pole of why do we feel like we have to like pinch pennies and like pay each other with money that's being held at the top of this pyramid? So I think it's unfortunate, and that's why I have absolutely no beef with producers who ask for production fees. It's just, unfortunately, the reality is like, hey, sorry, bro, I just don't have that to give to you right now, and I'm working on it because I love these songs, and I want you to get paid for your work. And to be transparent, sometimes when they ask for a fee, that just means they'll take like less points off of the song. So it's not like it's still it's still a discussion. It's not just, it's still something that makes sense for both the producer and the artist, like whatever fee is like settled on. It's just that I don't have that like bank of money right now that I'm working with currently. And so yeah, that's just like an unfortunate reality that like a lot of people navigate with producer fees and being an independent artist and just kind of having songs maybe sit there until some funding appears. But yeah, it's
wild.
It's wild. It's wild. It's
And these are the sorts of things that, like you said earlier in our conversation, you don't know until you have the experience. Because again, there might be books that explain these things, but there are so many nuances and so many things that just aren't really talked about amongst, your peers or just in your own group of friends or collaborators. And so you're kind of put into this position all of a sudden, and you have to deal with this thing without really knowing what's going on. And then it becomes a learning lesson, and then you know what to do the next time around, which is the beauty of it. But there's still that sort of like area where you just don't really know how these things are going to pan out.
No, and what's so interesting is that we're just talking about clearing a song and being able to release it. We all know, if I'm maybe not the average listener, but all the work happens after the song is released. Like that's when you have to continue to breathe life into the song, market it, find homes for it around different spaces, whether you're attaching it to like a product, like if it's going to be in an ad, in a movie, in a TV show, if you're performing it. So I'm just talking about like the behind the scenes. Imagine the budget that then needs to be spent on the marketing and building the world and creating the visuals for the song. So imagine that. It's unfortunate that sometimes when artists articulate these things, it comes across as complaining, which is
ridiculous.
Which is so ridiculous. It's just like, it's just the reality. It's just the reality. And I wish that I had something more constructive to say on like how to navigate it. All I can do right now is expose like what my experience is, and also just say that like there's no ill will, or like the problem is not the creative community.
Yeah. Right.
That's just what it is. So I'm learning how to, I'm trying to assess right now what my career is going to continue to look like as it expands. But it's so interesting to me that the industry that I thought was so glamorous has now turned into a DIY industry, even for major label artists, which is like oddly reassuring, but then also really messed up. So
do you think it was ever truly glamorous though, or do you think that that's sort of been a facade all along?
It's been a facade all along. I just think, when you're a little kid and you're watching Britney Spears and Destiny's Child perform, and you have no idea what's going on. And then when you're in the industry, you often still don't know what's going on. I'm 10 years in and I'm learning about, what do you mean I have royalties that haven't been collected in all these territories? Because like, no, truly this industry is a profitable one because of how much creatives don't know.
Right.
That's why it makes money, because we're being exploited based off of what we don't know, what is not information that is not presented to us, information that we don't seek because we're too busy trying to survive. It's just this like terrible ecosystem that we still choose to participate in. Me, saying that I'm the first one there because I love music and I believe in it beyond the industry, which is why I'm still here. But shit. I wish I had something more conclusive to say that was more hopeful, but I'm still navigating it. So yeah.
Well, I don't think things like an industry are ever conclusive, because it's always going to change. Whether it changes for better or worse is really up to the people who are involved, right? Yeah. And I suppose I wonder how you feel about the near future of the music industry. There's all this talk about AI and how that's becoming more and more of, a cautionary maybe aspect of what the industry can look like, and what its effects can be on the industry. But do you feel hopeful? Do you feel excited? Do you feel that because there are, and I have to believe there are, but because there are people like you and I who feel a certain way about how the industry has been run and how there is a lack of support and how it has been exploitative, that will in turn change the face of the industry over time, even though it will likely take a very long time. But just our existence and our involvement and hopefully also our impact on the industry in whatever small way we can will actually transform it for the better?
I don't know if it's because of my particular lens, but I genuinely feel like the world is moving in a place where we've noticed everything that's messed up, and everyone is overstimulated and lacking connection. So I think every ounce of humanity is appreciated right now. So I personally don't feel threatened by AI, and just like any form of technology, like I think it can be used as a tool, but I genuinely see a trend in music and how artists and their teams are moving that is very, again, like grassroots DIY. I think more so than ever, I'm seeing artists like pop up in parks and choose to do, for instance, Joy Crooks is an artist that's super dope from the UK, and she did a record store tour, which I thought was such a great idea.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Like, how cool is that? That you're not going to the conventional venues, you're choosing smaller rooms, and it's like it's not even like a venue, right? You're just, I think, actively making choices that center connection over consumer and product. I think when we treat our listeners as people, that is going to just create such a beautiful exchange of energy, because that's what music is. It's an exchange of energy. So the more we center our choices as artists around that, I think we're going to be rewarded. And it may not look grand, but for it to be deeper and more fulfilling is what is going to bring an artist longevity in 2026. I really do believe that. So it's very humbling, and like I think just like a rewiring that artists have to like stop striving for this top that doesn't even exist. There's no top. It's just lateral movements, and realizing that like your biggest fan may just want to like link with you for a coffee if like you're visiting their city, and like that's impactful. It's just, you know, what's this all about? Like I'm not in music to be perceived as this like star. I'm here to connect with people. So let the choices that we make about how we run the business of it be that.
Well, speaking of, speaking of longevity,
we're so deep in it. We're so deep in it. I'm gonna start like snapping and doing some spoken word right now.
Speaking of longevity, you know, technology, it's always going to be there, and it's always going to be ever shifting, ever changing, right? But when you think about longevity, when you think about a career that is sustainable and fulfilling, what does that look like for you? Not just in 2026, but when you think, you know, a few years down the line, 10 years down the line, for you and just in general, for everybody, what could a sustainable and fulfilling career in music look like? It's
loving what I'm doing, inspiring people through my music, traveling and impacting people across different cultures with the music, not for like my ego to say that I did, but just to acknowledge the universal quality of music. The fact that someone like a Ray or Olivia Dean can make thousands of people smile in a stadium all across the world, whether they speak English or not. Like, that's the type of grandeur I seek, to be able to just experience humans and connect with them all over the world, and have us learn from one another, have us exhale together when we connect with like a certain lyric in a song, have us cry together, and just see each other as mirrors. So to be able to do that and to get paid to do that and have that exchange make sense for everybody involved. So not for it to feel like I'm not adding value to people's lives through my music. And what I mean by that is like, I'm very intentional with what kind of music I put out there. And maybe it's just for me, but I always try to have lyrical content or like the sonic elements. I don't want to say like bring light because that's just so lame. But I just want to make sure that if I'm saying something, it's adding value to your life in whatever way that applies to you. So I don't want to be here like promoting self-destruction. Like that's the type of example that I'm giving. So there are certain people that when you experience, they like breathe life into you and they inspire you and empower you. Like I just want my own journey with how I'm learning to better myself, for that to be put into the music to enhance other people's realities, so that when you like leave an interaction with me or leave a performance or like finish listening to a song, you just feel, wow, like, okay, like I'm one of many beings in this world, like sharing this experience. Like we're just genuinely connected. So to me, it's being able to do that and provide for myself and my family, and that's what it is. And I think some people sometimes like they'll have like certain like benchmarks and like I need to win this or do that, but I'm really in the space right now where I'm most rewarded when I'm embracing the unknown. So I'm just like leaving it up to like the universe to decide. And like I know that sounds really spiritual, but right now all we have is right now. And if I just follow my excitement, I know that the most beautiful, unexpected things will happen, because even the things that we planned for never transpire as we think that they do, but sometimes they're even better. So I'm just kind of banking my career on my excitement for what I'm doing. And if the excitement isn't there, then I'm not going to be doing this anymore. But right now the excitement is there. So what it's going to look like 5 years from now, I genuinely don't know. But I have some people that I think are inspiring, like the Olivia Deans, the Rays, the fact that Dua Lipa gets to travel with her family. I think that's beautiful. Just there are certain things that I notice in other artists where I'm just like, oh wow, that's like inspirational. So I keep note of things, but I think everyone's journey is very different. So I'm leaving it up to God, to the universe. We'll see.
I'd love to wrap this conversation up sort of sitting in that unknown. And I'd love for you to talk about, you know, for the people who have known your music, who have been following your journey for over 10 years, and also for those who have just come across your work, what is the sort of evolution that you hope that they see in you, not only as an artist, but also just as a person?
I think I would hope that when people experience me from the outside, they see someone who is not afraid to try, not afraid to learn, someone who has a holistic approach to music, because it's not music as a job, it's music as expression. And I think we all are capable of creating our own realities. So I would hope that when people see me attempting to create mine, they can know that it's also possible for them in whatever capacity that may be, whatever calls them in their life, like whatever they're interested in. I just genuinely hope that people realize that they're a lot more powerful than they think they are, if they give themselves the credit, and if they acknowledge just how powerful their own minds are, and their bodies, and their intuition, and their compassion. We have so much that is already within us that we sometimes think it isn't there, and we try to like supplement from the outside or be validated from the outside, but we genuinely always have the tools with us in every moment. And sometimes it's even just in the form of a breath in a stressful situation where we feel like, oh my God, everything sucks, this is terrible. But if we just focused in on our breathing and did like 4 deep breaths, we would have a completely new perspective on the situation and on life. So that is just one example of like, hey, you already have the tools. And I know that's a very like deep lesson to want to share with people, but I'm not a musician. I'm a human expressing themselves through music.
Facts. I think that's a beautiful way to wrap this conversation up. Callie, thank you for such an enlightening conversation.
Thanks for
Seriously,
having me.
because that's really the aim of this show, is being able to talk about the sorts of things that aren't talked about on a day-to-day basis. You get together with friends, you get together with colleagues and coworkers, and you don't really talk about these sorts of things, it's considered taboo or whatever the fuck.
It could be a lot.
It could be a lot.
I could sound kind of crazy for sure.
I don't think it's crazy. I think it's natural, and I think these are experiences that all of us to a certain capacity deal with, at different stages in our career. And the fact that you so openly shared your experiences and your thoughts and everything is really, really appreciated. So thank you for making the time. Thank you for being on the show.
Thank you for the platform.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Where can people find you if they want to connect?
KALLITECHNIS, social media, all DSPs. I'm going to be releasing a jazz house project called Cosmos soon. That's coming out June 25th. So yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Callie. Really appreciate you. All right. That does it for this month's episode of Her Vision, Her Voice. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I will be back for another episode on May 16th. If you want to know the music I played in the first hour of the show, make sure to check out the archived episode, which will be out next week. Stay tuned for Beats of All Nations and more Dublab programming coming up next. I'm Aline Kazarian. Have a great weekend, everybody.